Well, hello and thanks for joining Off the Stone Knife Sharpening. Today I wanted to sharpen this beauty right here. This is a newer knife that I bought recently, and it is a Japanese petty knife or utility knife that is 150 millimeters long. And what is great about this, I don't know if you can see, hopefully it's not reflecting, but it is Damascus, and it's actually VG10 Damascus, which is awesome because not only do you have the benefits of VG10, which VG10 has a lot of carbon chromium, which makes it have a long-lasting edge and it's very corrosion resistant, but the Damascus also adds an element of more flexibility, which makes it a little less brittle. And they also mentioned that this steel will be even more corrosion resistant. So it's quite stainless. This makes it a perfect knife for the kitchen. Now, the company that made this knife, I believe, is Izea, is how you pronounce it. And so I want to sharpen this today. I want to use my Sharpening glass stones that I had just gotten. If you've kept up with the channel, I just got the Sharpening Glass Stone 7 kit, which I really am enjoying. But before we get started sharpening this knife, I wanted to thank everyone that has subscribed, whoever has liked my videos, if you've shared them, if you've commented on them. Thank you so much for all of your support. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to see that I've reached 1,000 subscribers. So thanks to you guys, the channel keeps growing and growing. Yeah, so let's sharpen this guy and see how sharp we can get it. What's awesome about the Sharpening Glassstone 7 kit is you have a 600 grit, a 2500 grit, and then a 30,000 grit. So you're talking a crazy high polish stone. Now I think it would give a better polish on the knife edge if I had a few stones before it that like more like a 4 or 5,000 grit and then like an 8,000, 12,000. But it does polish the edge fine. It's not like a mirror polish or anything. But what's nice about having it is it's a 30,000 grit stone. So if I want to get some other stones in between, I can get those. So just a little bit about this Izea knife. The factory edge was okay. I would have liked it to be a little bit sharper. The Packawood handles are pretty comfortable. The only thing I noticed is I don't have super large hands, but the size of this handle kind of lends to me almost biting my finger into the heel of that blade right there. So for me, it's this knife is slightly dangerous to use if I'm not really thinking about it, because when I grip it and my finger's right here at the bottom gripping the knife, my index finger generally can kind of get nipped. So that's if there's anything to complain about with this knife is I wish the handle was a little bit bigger. If you have smaller hands, this knife would probably work fine. But so that's something I do have to watch as I've been using it. Initially, I just want to test the edge. Let's see how it cuts paper. I have used this, so I want to see how it cuts paper after all the use I've got out of it. Yeah, not too bad. Seems to cut paper fairly well still. Not too bad. It's not perfect. This is a harder cut because the side like this for some reason is a lot easier to cut. When you try and cut the paper from the top like this, it's generally harder. Seems to do pretty well. It seems to do all right. So as you can see, the edge isn't bad. It's not terrible in any sense, but it definitely could use a sharpening, and that's what we're gonna do. I am gonna change this camera angle so that you see more of the stone. Let me do that and we will get started. Okay, so this is 25 micron or 600 grit sharpening stone. We're gonna use that as our starting stone to apex this knife. Then we will just go through the whole kit. We'll go to the 2500 grit and the 30,000 grit. And I've been tempted to fully ambidextrous sharpen this knife, but it will take me a little bit longer, especially when it comes to strapping and alternating strokes, because I'll have to switch hands. So we'll see what I end up doing. One thing about these stones is they remove metal very quickly. It's one thing I can definitely say is very good about these stones is they're not slow cutting stones. I'm not a huge fan of stones that cut super slow. And also these have a great tactile feedback. They just feel great. Stones are very smooth. And something else I really like about these stones is they keep water on them very well. Like the water doesn't absorb super quick and it gets a nice slurry, which just makes it a lot easier. I don't have to constantly splash the stone, which is nice. You know what? I might switch chairs here. There's kind of a taller chair in here. I might switch that so that I have a better angle. This chair is just slightly too short for me. It's one piece of advice I can definitely give you is you definitely want the right height between your hands and the stone. That can make a big difference. Basically, I just was feeling more fatigued very quickly from sharpening in that chair. Now I feel like I can lock in that angle a lot easier too. So with my experience with this knife so far and this VG10 Damascus steel, it's been very, very good. Like I said, the knife could have been a little bit sharper to start, but it has kept its edge pretty well in the kitchen. I have no complaints there. Let's see what we're doing to this edge. Okay. Everything but the heel is about there. Which is not uncommon. If you've sharpened knives, you'll know that the heel and the tip, generally, you'll have to do a little bit more work towards those. It's much easier to focus on the middle of the blade. But you do want to make sure your burr is even across the whole knife edge, and that's what I'm making sure right now. It's pretty much there, but this tip even felt like it had a little bit more burr formation than every other part. Okay. So, I don't know how many passes I just did, but stone needs a slight bit of water on there. Now we will switch to the right hand. It is a bit tricky sharpening with both hands, but I find it to be very rewarding and challenging, and I've been trying to do a lot more of it. It is slightly tricky though. You got to build muscle memory that you already built with your other hand, and it's kind of, you almost feel like you're starting over. But I think that also helps when you've built the muscle memory with your other hand, kind of understand the motion even though it still feels very new to you. Yeah, one great thing about these stones is the slurry. It is just such a wonderful feel to it. It stays on there very well. There's just so much good to be said about these stones. All right, so one thing you'll find when you're sharpening is if you formed a burr on one side of the knife already, the other side forms it usually a lot faster because you're kind of just flopping it besides moving some steel. So one thing I do want to make sure is that I still sharpen the side enough even though the burr has flopped over. One thing I'm also going to check is the apex itself. You always want to check your apex before you move on to other stones because whatever starting point you use here is going to affect the rest of the sharpening and the overall sharpness of the blade. And if you skip this step and you don't focus a lot on apexing the knife correctly, your other stones are only going to get as sharp as the first stone. So basically you could limit yourself if you didn't sharpen as long as you needed to on the first stone by apexing the knife. Something to always watch. Let's see what we got. Now what we want to do is deburr this. Deburring is just going to be a lot softer strokes, basically the weight of the knife. You're just going to try and remove a lot of the burr that you've formed with this stone. Just taking the weight of the knife, just doing a single stroke. You can hear it's kind of crunchy, you know. All right, it should be pretty good. Stone is super smooth. I love that sound. Sounds crispy. Now for any kitchen knife that you're sharpening, you can always stop at a 600 grit like that, but I prefer to at least take it to 1,000 grit. This is 2,500, which is a fantastic grit to end on for a kitchen knife, unless you need the edge finer for whatever you're doing. But for me, most times a 2,500 grit is plenty good enough to use for anything that I want to cut. It's feeling good. We'll do a little bit more on the tip here. And we'll start doing some alternating strokes. Definitely don't neglect the tip when you sharpen, or else you are going to have no piercing power of the knife, which is just not fun. Okay, so now I just want to alternate. As you can see, this is definitely more time consuming. It's tempting to just turn the knife on the other side, but I want to see what kind of edge I can get fully ambidextrous sharpening this. There, I almost hit my finger on the heel of that knife. It's the only thing. Something you definitely don't want to do. Just slightly drying the stone here. But as you can see, I didn't need much water at all to use the stone. I almost could use the stone with only wetting it once. That is nice. Should be good for the 2500 grit. Now what I'm going to do with this is just do alternating strokes just to polish that refined edge that we made. And we'll see how it goes. The thing you want to make sure with this 30,000 grit is you're just using the weight of the knife. You don't need any more pressure than that. Let the stone do the cutting. All right. Now the fun isn't completely done, but we should be done on the stones right now. Now I just want to strap, but I do want to go through a decent progression of straps just to refine this edge as much as we can. So I will start with a strap with no compound on it, and then I'll move on to 2 straps with compound on them. So oftentimes people ask, do you need to strap? Well, do you need a leather strap? Technically, no you don't, but it will smoothen out your edge. Even that 30,000 grit stone can't remove the material that this leather strap's going to be able to remove. And it just smooths out your edge. So if you like a very smooth edge and you want to make sure that burr's gone, it's just a good thing to get. You don't absolutely have to have a leather strap. I've seen many good sharpeners completely deburr the blade, or at least as much as they needed to on the stones. But I would definitely recommend using a strap personally. But if you only had a stone and that's all you could do, it's enough. But strap's just gonna give you that icing on the cake. Okay. Right, let's move on to another one. All right, so I have 2 Knives Plus straps here. This is a 2 micron, and then I also have a 0.5 micron. The green is definitely probably the most popular. It is absolutely great. There's definitely a reason it's one of the most popular. But this 2 micron one is great too, and they actually, at least last I saw, they didn't make it anymore. Thought it was discontinued, but I don't know if it is anymore, if they'll bring it back. When I had looked, they didn't have it anymore. Some people may tell you strap at a lower angle. I would say strap at the angle you sharpened. I think no more, no less. Try and keep it as close as you can. Some people swear by more of a lower angle. I guess you could experiment, but I would just, in my experience, I just try and keep the same angle that I sharpen with. That's always given me the best results. Another great thing that you will do when you strap on leather is you will polish the edge. And the polish that these stones have left on this knife edge are getting even more pronounced because of these straps that I just used. So now I can see the edge is starting to shine more and more, which is a nice touch. All right. Another tidbit of advice: whenever you strap with compound, remove that compound off the knife if you're going to move on to a stone or another strap, because you don't want to mix those unless you want to. I mean, you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I like keeping them both as, one's as 0.5 and one is a 2 for a reason, so I don't want to mix those compounds together. I'm hoping that I did this all ambidextrous. I've been trying to think about it. I don't know if I ever cheated and flipped the knife over, so if I did, I apologize. I'm trying to keep this as a full ambidextrous sharpening, but sometimes out of habit, it's easy to just flip the knife over and use it right away. But so yeah, I've had some people comment about ambidextrous sharpening, and would I recommend it as a beginner? I mean, I guess you could. You don't want to make the process harder, and I feel like it's definitely quite a challenge to do it. So I don't think I would say for a beginner try and do ambidextrous sharpening. I would just say use one hand until you get used to it. If you want to venture out eventually, for a couple reasons. For one, it's going to be kind of difficult, and two, you'll save time if you don't have to constantly switch hands with the knife. But I guess one advantage you could say if you started ambidextrous is you could use both your hands. If you were going to learn them both anyway, why not learn them both at the same time? Maybe that would save you time in the future. I don't know. Guess I just don't know. All right. That was a lot of stropping and a lot of cutting on stones. Check out the polish we have on this edge. Looks pretty nice. Looks pretty even. I don't know if camera will pick up that edge. Oh, that's nice and nice. It's pretty smooth, not bad. Let me zoom out the camera a little bit. Nice clean cut though. A little bit of catch here and there, but it's a pretty clean cut. See how well this is apexed. It's always something to check. If you've seen my channel for any length of time, I like to roll up paper towel or toilet paper and just cut through it like this. Oh yeah, that's got a nice smooth cut. So yeah, it's a good edge. Definitely not bad. What we'll do is test it on yeah, good edge. But we'll test it on some fruit here and see how it cuts that. Let's grab from our basket of goodies. Ooh, look what we have here. All kinds of goodies. What do we want to start with? You got to start with the tomato, right? Let's see how it cuts a tomato now. I guess I could do the test that a lot of people do. You just cut off the top and then you kind of shave the tomato. Though this means your knife is sharp to cut like this in ways, it's not, in my opinion, the ultimate sharpness test. But it's kind of fun to do. And you see a lot of people do it. But what I want to know as a cook is how does it cut? You know, through the actual tomato, not just trying to do. That's very nice. It's got a smooth, very nice cut. Yeah, with all that stropping and that 30,000 grit, you end up just getting a very fine edge, as you would expect. But yeah, it's nice. All right, let's get an orange. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, that's a very, very nice edge. It's definitely an improvement of what the factory edge was, and it should be. Very cool. All right, lastly, I'm just gonna chop a little bit of a bell pepper. Just cut off a piece or two of that. And then, see how it cuts the skin. Gotta kind of move these tomatoes. It's good. Yeah, it's got a nice, definitely a nice edge. I will definitely enjoy using this in the kitchen for sure. And what I'm curious is how long this edge will last, because it's a VG10 steel. I've had a lot of just high carbon stainless steels that I've used in the past. But this will be, this will definitely be nice to use in the kitchen. That's a good bell pepper. Well, guys, that was the IZEA 150 millimeter petty knife with VG10 Damascus steel, sharpened 3 stones and strapped with 3 straps. That's the edge we got. I'd say it's definitely good, and I'm gonna enjoy using this in my kitchen. And I appreciate you watching this. Thank you so much if you've subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking the videos and commenting and sharing these videos. I really, really appreciate it. I really want to continue to do this as much as I can, and all of that support really helps. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.